Hey, what's up folks, how's it going? This is Waj. Hope you guys are all doing well. And in this video, we're going to be reviewing a boutique gaming PC, specifically from Origin PC. Now, this is based off their Millennium lineup, and inside is the new AMD Ryzen 7 1700X CPU. It's an 8-core chip with 16 threads. And also in the system are two GTX 1080 Ti's and SLI configurations. So this is going to be a beastly monster of a gaming PC, and we're going to definitely put it through the ringer in playing games in ultra high definition resolution. And this should also be a great VR system as well if you're going to do any kind of VR gaming in the future. So what we're going to do is take a look at the overall finish and package of the gaming PC and see if it's actually worth getting compared to just building your own PC like most people do. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. Now, when the PC arrives at your door, one of the interesting things that you're going to notice, it actually comes in a wooden armor crate, believe it or not. It is probably one of the most intense packaging systems I've ever came across ever. And in order to actually get to the real box inside, you have to unscrew the wooden panels. It comes with instructions on how to do so. And even the box itself, the cardboard box that houses the PC, is super sturdy, super stable. The entire package weighed around 70 to 80 pounds, which is pretty insane. Now, when you finally get the box open, you'll notice that there's a couple of little extras like a t-shirt, all your accessories. The PC actually comes with a fabric covering case, which should do a good job of protecting the external paint. And when you take a look at inside the case, there's actually expanded foam. That way your graphics cards don't move around during the shipping process. Pretty darn incredible overall experience when unboxing this thing. Now, on the screen right now is the exact configuration of this Origin PC. As we mentioned before, it's based around the 1700X Ryzen 7 CPU. It actually comes with the Origin Frostbite 360 sealed liquid cooling solution, 16 gigabytes of HyperX memory. In terms of the motherboard, we're using the MSI X370 Gaming Pro Carbon Edition. In terms of the storage solution, we have two drives. One is an M.2 Samsung 512 and 960 Evo drive, and a WD 4TB mechanical hard drive. That's actually a Caviar Black edition, so you get some extra cache. The GPUs are the NVIDIA reference grade GTX 1080s in SLI configuration. The bridge is also pre-installed, and the power supply is the EVGA 1000 watt G380 Plus Gold fully modular power supply. Now, the case is actually really special. It's Origin's Millennium series. It actually has a few neat features. One of the biggest ones is the Motherboard Orientation system. You can have it in 4 different configurations. The standard mode, as we have it over here. You can invert your entire setup so it's facing the opposite direction. That may be favorable depending upon your desk setup. Furthermore, you can also rotate your entire motherboard at 90 degrees so it's facing upwards in terms of the graphics card orientation. That could take advantage of the optimal heat dissipation that you get from hot air rising from the bottom of the case to the top of the case. You can also invert that 90 degrees orientation as well. So there's many different options. And when you first configure your setup, you can choose whichever favorable orientation you like, or perhaps later in the future, if you decide to switch the orientation of the motherboard, that's also possible as well. As you can see, the case has many zones for RGB lighting. There's a strip on the side, there's a strip on the top. On the top right hand corners of the case, you're going to see some dot RGB lighting points, as well as the Origin logo at the front of the case can also be illuminated. And you can control all the lighting effects of your case in a multitude of different ways. Firstly, there's the Windows app. You can use the Sentinel app for your smartphone, and there's even a remote control that comes with the case that allows you to change many aspects of the lighting controls. On top of all that, you do also have some physical buttons for controlling the light and fan speeds, using either the toggle switch to switch between lighting mode and fan speed mode, and then there's a dial to adjust either the fan speed or the brightness of your LEDs. Now, in terms of the actual performance results, let's actually take a look at the CPU benchmarks first. Now, we have a mild overclock on our 1700X CPU. It can normally turbo up to 3.8 gigahertz. It's somewhere around the 4 gigahertz mark at this point right now. And our Cinebench R15 benchmark yields a result of about 1511 points. Fairly respectable. Not quite as good as the 1800X, but definitely not bad. And when we take a look at the Geekbench performance, you're going to look at a single core performance of about 4100 and a multi-core performance of about 22,000 points. In terms of our SSD benchmark, we have a fantastic Samsung M.2 drive. It's the 960 series, and we're getting a read sequential performance about 1.9 gigabytes a second, about 1.6 gigabytes a second in terms of write speed. So that's definitely very, very respectable. And let's finally take a look at our GTX 1080 Ti's in SLI configuration. Time Spy, we get a score about 15,000 points. Definitely very, very respectable. The Valley benchmark at full 4K resolution, maxed out ultra details, we get average frames per second about 84.2. So definitely a very, very capable gaming machine, regardless of what kind of resolution that you're going to be throwing at it in terms of Quad HD, 4K, or 1080p. Now, the last chart that we're going to take a look at is just our real-world gaming benchmark results on 4 different titles: Rise of the Tomb Raider, Doom, and Battlefield, as well as Watch Dogs 2. Basically, you're looking at the 4K average frames per second and minimum frames per second. All these games have been maxed out in terms of detail settings, and you're taking a look at the Ultra HD 4K resolution. And as you can see, credible results, as would be expected when you have 2 of the best GPUs on the market working alongside of each other, and I don't think that the 1700X is bottlenecking our GPU performance in any kind of significant way. But really, other than that, guys, that's really it. To quickly sum up, one of my favorite things about this PC definitely has to be the fact that the motherboard can be oriented in several different factors, which could be a huge benefit for some people that want an inverted kind of setup for a better overall airflow or cable management. For several years now, I've been using the Silverstone Raven series of cases that have this 90-degree orientation of the motherboard, which I'm a huge fan of, and there have been other manufacturers in the past that offer this feature, but none that I can recall that have this much flexibility as in the Millennium case. So big fan of that. In terms of general gaming performance, obviously with 2 GTX 1080 Ti's, there's not going to be any performance lag no matter what you're doing, what resolution, and really the sky's the limit. So no real complaints there. The 1700X is a great overall chip. It's actually pretty economically priced by itself. It gives you very similar performance to their flagship 1800X processor, just not as high as clock speed. But if you get a good copy of a chip and you have some decent cooling like what we have over here, the overclocking potential is quite good, especially if you know what you're doing. But generally speaking, probably the biggest caveat of the system will be the price point. Obviously, you're paying for the convenience factor, parts and labor and service, but Origin PC have been doing this for several years, and you can see their workmanship on to the case itself. The cable management is absolutely at a pristine professional level, and I'm sure many expert PC builders could definitely duplicate what we're seeing over here, but for the novice to beginner PC builder that doesn't want the hassle of building their own system, their configuration tool is pretty good on the website, and I think they offer a pretty valid service that can certainly be justified in terms of its price point, depending upon where you're coming from. But other than that, guys, that's really it. Definitely love to hear your thoughts and opinions about this whole setup. Give us a thumbs up if this video helped you out, you enjoyed it anyway. Helps us a lot when you do that. And thank you so much for supporting the channel. Thank you for subscribing, and we'll see you really soon in the next video. Take care.